Begin now.
Sure, sir. All of you, please welcome Dr. Ajit Kulkarni. In the second part of webinar series, we had the last meeting with him when we talked about harmony with totality. Homeopathy. Um, his book, volume one of harmony and totality, and today we'll be talking about the volume 2 because sir has launched a series of these books. They are in 4 parts, 4 volumes, and today is the second meeting. Sir will be talking about the second volume today, and sir, please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so I will share the screen. Yeah. So welcome everyone. Due to technological problem, we are late, but we will make up and I will be with you. Is everything all right? May I say that I'm audible and visible to
So you're
everyone?
audible and your screen is visible.
Okay. Okay.
Sir, just a minute before you begin, for all the participants, any questions that you have while sir is talking, you can type in your questions in the chat box,
Yeah.
or there is a Q&A section
Yeah.
at the bottom of your screens. You can type it there. So we will not take up any questions in between. We'll take it up when sir is done explaining all the lecture to you. So please proceed.
Yeah. So now I'm talking on volume second, which is devoted to two things. First, it is devoted to data processing and prescribing. You know the importance of both of them for a conscientious, sincere homeopath. Then I have a huge presentation of more than 700 pages on homeopathic materia medica. This volume is of 36 chapters, the largest one, containing 720 pages. Data processing and prescribing contains 7 chapters. The first chapter is objective analysis. I have offered 20 points of data processing. You know, a big problem in homeopathy is lack of standardization. Because of the principle of individualization, we have a huge problem in making homeopathy standardized. Although there are huge limitations also in making homeopathy just like a materialistic protocol following science and art, it is possible to develop something at the level of the totality so that our science and art is accepted at a wider level of scientific community. And we do not lose sight of the data as far as the processing part of the data is concerned. So with this purpose of standardization, this 20 points of data processing has been developed by me. Then there is a big, almost 40 pages article over acute prescribing, challenges and solutions. The third one is intercurrent prescribing, the so-called IP. I have given many indications of the IP. Then keynote prescribing and overview. Exactly whether PQRS is just homeopathy or something different, something deeper. Then body language, I am talking here only about talking hands. Defense mechanism, this is an article written by one of my close friends from Moscow, Dr. Alexander Martushev, where he has presented more than 13 defense mechanism and its correlation with homeopathy. And then there is a big chapter on failures in homeopathy practice, causes and resolutions. About Materia Medica, there is a general section which cover 3 chapters, monogram, from multitude to access. We have the data, we have the components of the data, and then we have an access. So how to go to the destination, how to access the simillimum through monogram. Monogram is a very fantastic idea being followed by many institutes in homeopathy in the world. Anekantavad and the study of Materia Medica. This is a Jainism principle. This has been correlated with the study of the Materia Medica. This article was liked by the World Jain Association so much that they kept it on their website. Then there is an article over inheritance, constitution, and relationship of remedies. So this is about general section of the Materia Medica, mostly philosophical, with some illustrations also. Then we have individual remedies in the part 2. You know, we are addicted to overuse of sulfur and netramur. One of my students from Europe told me that, sir, I'm addicted to netramur. How can I come out of this? So we tried our best to deal with the situation through this chapter. Then Medorinum animalcule. Animalcule is the name of, you see, being coined by Hanuman, which I have used, and I have given the reasons of why this name. Then Syphilinum, a forbidden fruit. So the concept of the apple being a forbidden fruit being eaten by the human beings, and then the, you see, sinful acts and everything began, and how this could be correlated with a wonderful remedy, Syphilinum. Belladonna, the cheerful nightshade. So these names are very fascinating, and I have taken good amount of efforts to define through the heading what exactly the remedy conveys to you. Then opium, the joy of life. Hipparcel, keep the pot boiling. Analytical study of sepia through its ingredients. Helonius, catwoman. Comparison between aconite, belladonna, and arsenic album. Uncommon remedies in clinical practice. Then understanding the trio, pulsatilla, silica, fluoric acid. This write-up on trio has been a trendsetter, and people have started studying many other trios based on the concept of holism, so that we understand really whether the evolution occurs from pulsatilla to silica to fluoric acid really at what level. At physiological level, at pathological level, at pathogenetic action level, at biochemical level, at doctrine of signature level, at personality evolution level, at psychopathological level. These have been described with doctrine of signature, with the source information, and with a lot of case examples. Then part 3 is about group study of Paramedica, where I have presented 8 group studies. First is Argentum, and the name is intrinsic but arbitrary, because Argentum presents to you something eccentric, something whimsical. Then Mercurius International, hip hop dancing. You can understand why this very special name of international and hip hop dancing has been given to Mercury. Mercury, you know, is the only solid which is liquid, and only liquid which is solid. And it has no shape. It takes on the shape of its own. Just you try to move Mercury. Carbons between living and dying. The rancorous and sulky ammonia comes. Alkalines, look at all the life on the earth, because mostly the alkalines are present in the earth crust. Our magnesium, calcium, and many other alkalines. Magnesiums, the abandoned vehicles of the faint-hearted. Solanacea family, nightshades, caparices. Then the group study also goes for 7 more groups. So we have totally, you see, covered 8 and the 15 group studies. Acidic acids, the fuel and the fire. Insight into symbolic meaning of the snakes. I presented through Absolute Materia Medica the doctrine of signature, what exactly snake represents. But here, this study is made more symbolic, more mythological. And I'm able to understand the snake in a far better way with this mythology. How mythology could be understood in a better way in terms of the remedy, or rather the remedy is understood through the mythology. Spiders, mysterious, yes, fascinating. This is a big article. This article gives many illustrations, and also you will find my own comments on each spider, what I observed in my 40 years of clinical practice. When I began, I was using only 2 spiders, Tarantula hispanica, Tarantula cubensis, and mostly Lactrodectus mactans. Now, almost I will tell you more than 20 spider remedies I use in my clinical practice. So there is much more clarity now. Milk remedies, our lag group, we belong to life's outcasts. Birds, the eyes of the heaven. This is the name which has been given. Then the nosors, a powerful army of homeopathy. It is presented through some unusual cases. Then comparative study of the nosors is presented. Then sarcos, the list on the sources, and then resonating the organ arsenal. So thus we have covered 15 chapters related to the group study of Materia Medica. Now I begin with actual presentation of the book. The book is a big one, and the foreword has been written by one very sincere and senior homeopath from Israel, Dr. Guy Tidor, very Hahnemannian philosophical homeopath. He says that this homeopathic masterpiece of the second volume of Harmony by Dr. Kulkarni is a magnificent guide towards the study of methods of prescribing and homeopathic materia medica. The first volume was a compendium of philosophy, thoughts, discussions, instructions, basic ideas of dispositions and personality, the study of emotions and clinical tips to benefit our clinical practice. He says that he is associated with me for more than 18 years. I have been working with Dr. Kulkarni, and I have collected hundreds of hours of listening, discussing, and debating with the sincere homeopathic doctor. I am not a master. But now, having these precious words of knowledge written in the front of me, wait for reading, rereading, and restudying. I was curious. You have no time to waste, Guy. Get into the study mode. And he is one of my very sincere friends and students. In the cornucopia heading, he writes, this cornucopia is not only about data collection, but also about data processing and deeper study of homeopathy. Contemplation of the contents of volume 2 indicates how deeply the author has delved into his favorite subject of materia medica, which has been presented through monogram, group study, and individual remedies. He calls these all volumes as gemstone of simplicity and sincerity. At the outset, Dr. Kulkarni writes deeply about data processing and prescribing as the beginning. He begins with the magnificent monogram, which is the DNA of every remedy, the codes which describe the mode of action, the natural way of actuality of the remedies, I find the monogram as the most important contribution to the study of remedies of our generation. This method brings homeopathy back to the top with science, nature, and art. I will talk with monogram later on, but he made monogram concept much popular in the world, not only in Israel. There is a school called as the Remedy. I'm the dean of this school, and this school is run by Chidor, Ronen, and others very sincere homeopaths. I am the guide in making the syllabus, giving the advice, and we are doing very well as far as the knowledge of homeopathy is concerned. Okay. I will not take your time more and go directly to more offerings from data processing. These are my actual write-up in the presentation. Totality and sickness. Totality is not conglomeration of symptoms. It is not hodgepodge. It is not an assembly of symptoms. It is not an aggregate amount. So we are not talking about quantity. Totality must represent the system with internal relationships. In a house, there are 10 members. Yes, in a house, there are 10 members. But these 10 members, how they live with each other, defines the home concept, defines the living concept. In the same way, totality doesn't mean only the quantity. To perceive the totality, one requires the vision of totality. So there is a space scientist who is looking at the space through the telescope. And the scientist gives me the telescope and tells me, define the space. It is difficult for me because I have no this vision. I don't possess the vision. So the whole concept in homeopathy, as far as the totality is concerned, is to perceive the totality. What exactly is totality? What exactly is sickness? Totality renders the quintessence, means essence. We need ideas, concepts, imaginations, and fantasies to perceive the multifarious dimensions of totality. But they should not be at the cost of throwing away the hard facts. You know, homeopathic, materia medica, repertory, rather, everything about homeopathy is based on a hard facts. You cannot, you see, remove the drug proving from our, you see, concept of homeopathy. It is not possible. It is injustice there. Because through the proving, we understand the hard facts. Then we develop a lot of concepts. Maybe logical, maybe illogical, maybe imaginative, maybe clinical, maybe useful, may not be useful, whatever maybe. But hard facts and logic must go together. So the objective is to perceive the essence of the sick individual and identify the real sickness. Last lecture, as I also told you, the big problem in homeopathy is what is true sickness. True sickness is a very unique, personalized, individual field to be explored. The process is to recognize its counterpart in materia medica and with repertory or without repertory. So the objective is to fathom the sickness and to fish out the remedy, and this should not be sacrificed for running after mega syphilitic travel. Why I write this? Because now there are a lot of imaginations and assumptions and fantasies to develop materia medica, to develop the repertory, the meaning of the repertory. So these have created problems also. So should we allow them to happen in homeopathy? It's a very serious question to a human science, complex science. And Hanuman And the structure of homeopathy is totally rational, logistic, and scientific. So in this objective analysis of the data, I have tried to present something which is unique. I will just give you an outline of this. I will present this paper to you through yes. This is a objective analysis. Yeah. 20 point. First point is nature of disease. Here, acute, per acute. Per acute means violently acute, very severely acute, like a storm. Acute and chronic, what we call as exacerbation. Then subacute, chronic, and remission. Mixed mesh case, natural and iatrogenic, drug-induced, drug miasm. Then psychosomatic, somatopsychic, autoimmune, and clinical diagnosis. These are the components of first nature of disease. So about disease, everything is clear to you. If the patient has asthma, he is with acute. Is he with per acute? You have to define because then the miasm will change. So everything is counted in homeopathy through the 20 points. And each point is with many, many sub-points. So it is in this way, these 20 points go to almost 80 components of data processing. This is a very unique paper by me. It is available also on the internet, also on my www.ajitkulkarni.com. Please read it and start using this module of data processing. Then the second one you will find, I will make it big. Second one is the phase of the disease. Then pre or subclinical, clinical, functional, structural, fully developed, and inadequately developed. This is called as a phase of the disease. You know, the more the characteristics require symptoms, it is fully developed according to homeopathy. Affinity, cells, tissues, organs, and systems, and the sites and their extensions. Fourth point is the type of the pathology, whether it is allergic, atrophic, benign, degenerative, destructive, dysplasia, proliferation, hyperplasia, metaplasia, hypertrophy, induration, hardening. All these words, they comprise for a homeopath the type of the pathology. If the patient has a tendency of hardness of the tissues, there is a sty which has become hard. There is a, you see, orchitis and the testis has become very hard. There is a breast tumor which has become very hard. So this hardness becomes a very unique character of the individual, where the pathological cells behave in a very unique way. This pattern is very unique to that suffering individual. Then this word hard will become a part of the monogram. Are you with me? Do you understand the process? Something which is repeated, something available at many localities, something uniquely being projected by an individual, then that becomes unique. So a lot of pathologies, a lot of cause and effect relationship of the pathologies, like ischemic. Patient has ischemia, atherosclerosis, ischemic heart disease, ischemic brain disease. There is a TIA, recurrent transient ischemic attacks. So then ischemic becomes central to the tissues, to the pathology. Then it becomes a monogram word. It is in this way we make a generalization. So Bhanuvosan and Bogus concept of generalization, pathological general concept of Boger, and logical transition of understanding the system all go together in a very unique way. The state of the pathology, whether it is borderline, irreversible, or reversible. See why it is useful. If the patient you have defined as irreversible, Patient has prostate cancer, his age is 90 years, there is a metastasis in the spinal with collapse of the vertebrae. There are some mets in the liver. Do you think he is curable? No. Then this metastasis in a 90-year-old man gives you directly the miasmatic dominance of syphilis. So we go from the state of pathology to the miasmatic energy. Thus, everything is connected with everything. Then the pattern of response, sudden, alternating, erratic, regular, irregular, paroxysmal, periodic, lingering, shifting, progressive, continuous, recurrent, and static. These are some of the patterns of responses. Every time my child develops the fever within 1 hour and it goes to 105-degree temperature. This is happening since the last 1 year. This is the mother telling you about child's character. So what is unique to the child? Sudden manifestations. With this recurrent pattern of response, when to use the word pattern? When something is repeatedly being presented in the same manner, consistently, over months and years. Then we can take the rubric sudden manifestations from the generalities. Thus, everything is very important to understand. Patient is, you see, chronic asthmatic psychotic miasm. Now he has developed emphysema. He cannot walk even 10 steps. He has severe breathlessness. And now doctor says he has emphysematous bronchitis, he has COPD. So the psychotic miasm now is going for syphilitic miasm. Thus the pathology, the evolution gives an assessment. What was there in the past and what is now present. Phase of the disease. Phase of the disease is of 6 types. It is analyzed, rapid, like pyrogeninum, arsenic album, verum phosphoricum, belladonna, solanaceae family. Then you have slow pace of the disease. The speed is slow, gradually deepening pathologies. We have agaricus, plumbum metallicum, causticum, bryonia, gelsemium, baryta, carbonicum. So there are huge remedies related to rapidity, related to slow. Let us study first rapid, then slow. So you will find a host of remedies. Do you know? There are some remedies, first rapid, then slow. I have given the repertorization rubrics of this in my book so that it doesn't remain only at the level of, you see, some thought. Thought is a different idea. A representation of the thought as an evidence in the repertoire and materia medica is a different idea. We have to correlate this and then give the evidence of this. Then first slow, then rapid, moderately rapid, and moderately slow. Sometimes you will find we cannot define as a very rapid or very slow. So these two additional speed patterns of the system are being expressed. Then experience. So in the experience, you will find expression, You will find field of modalities. Then there is a field of sensations, and then there is a field of, you see, symptoms. This is a very interesting study, and it has to be understood at the level of scanty, moderate, and ample. 9th point is miasm. 10 point is sensitivity. It is being presented through high, moderate, decrease at mind level and at the nerves or body level. Then susceptibility, 3 types, high, moderate, decrease. Separation, whether at the mind level or at the physical level. And you will find here at the left side, I have given the repertorial analysis. Then general vitality, we have to define at 3 levels: good vitality, moderate vitality, and low vitality. This is dependent upon age, pathology, where, which organ, whether it is reversible or irreversible, and many other aspects of the energy patterns of the body. Then 14 point is monogram, dispositions, temperamental personality traits, all the mental operations of the patient at the personality level are being understood here. Then comes body language, point number 16. Point number 17 is defense mechanisms. So almost more than 13 defense mechanisms are being used for the sake of data processing. Now I have presented many methods of data processing, which I use very commonly in my clinical practice according to the data. So I have been working over integration of advanced modules which have been developed in psychology and its correlation with Materia Medica for the sake of data processing, remedy selection, repertoire rubric selection, and also analysis. This is a very fascinating new way of understanding data processing. Musings from you see Mumbai, they have conducted my presentations. So tomorrow from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., you will get the presentation of this. Of course, it is with payment. So there are a lot of defense mechanisms like projection, introjection, and denial. The explanation of each of them with evolution of personality, characters, and its linkage with homeopathy, materia medica, and repertoire are also presented by Alexander Martushev. Okay. Then comes, you will find themes, if any. So this is something which is unique, 18 point. You can travel with your so-called imaginations, like a bird here. Although I accept that a bird has to come to the ground for eating, but I have given freelance to the mind so that I should not be blamed that Ajit Kulkarni is very strict in science. No, I understand the value of the art also. Then the repertorization 9 point, and then comes posology. These are the 20 points. In this point, there are some additional points also which are termed under management. In the management, I have included many things like you will find yoga, meditation, lifestyle change, and many other things. Okay. So this is all about subjective understanding of objective understanding of the data processing. So we come to our view. I have written a sentence from Salman Rushdie. You must read it out here. The only people who see the whole picture are the ones who step outside the frame. I think homeopathy should be understood more through totality, not through fragmentations, not through divisions, not through isolated segments, because we are not homogeneous. Okay. Now we go to the next chapter, that is acute prescribing, challenges and the solutions. I have presented 4 modules of developing, building up the acute totality. I have an opinion that homeopathy practice is nothing but applied homeopathy philosophy. So the results with acutes totally depends upon the experience, and that experience is good provided you know the philosophy. So how to build up the acute totality is a major challenge. So I have tried to present 4 modules of building up the totality. So one must know the concept and philosophy of acute. This is a very big chapter of more than 40 pages with a lot of illustrations. One must know how to build the clinical characteristic acute totality, selection of the remedy based on totality, selection of the potential and repetition schedule. Okay. So I will give you some understanding to you how I deal with this presentation. I have a big presentation on acute prescribing. I have to present to you one, you see, very unique way of presentation. So this is the plan of presentation about acute, need to know philosophy, evolution of disease, concept of energy, magnitude, and the reactive stages, phase of the disease, acute versus chronic, notable points, miasmatic assessment, building of acute totality through the modules. Module 1 is, causation, location, sensation, modalities, and concomitants. Module 2 is case taking. Module third is general and sectoral totality. Then fourth module is understanding patterns. Fifth one, form, function, and structure. Sixth module is energy assessment. Then prescribing methods, nozodes in acute cases, special cases, constitutional remedy in an acute, follow-up instructions, allopathic medication including homeopathic treatment, some capsule cases, and references. So it is in these 20 subheadings I have presented the acute prescribing, and I have a very unique chart to give you. The purpose is not to give you this one because this is a big presentation of almost more than 3 hours. We can take up this issue later on with our BJN publishers. And I will prefer to give you a total lecture of 3 hours free of charge on acute prescribing. So this is my very unique chart of understanding going from the dynamics to post-structural. Something at the level of dynamic, post-dynamic, and pre-functional. This is, you could call it in the current immunological language as incubation period. There is a entry, but nothing is happening at the symptomatic level. There is a disturbance which is likely to develop. So there are 3 stages of this. In these 3 stages, sometimes you get some investigations. It is very important. And these investigations are suggestive of something. Like ESR is raised, CRP is raised, but patient is totally asymptomatic. Then comes functional, sensations as it. Then post-functional, pre-structure. These are the stages. These are the stages which are definitively present between functional to structural. So there is a hyperplasia, structure is there, but we have not yet defined it as a cancer. Maybe in future, this hyperplasia may develop as cancer because there is a very strong family history of cancer. Then structural, and then the final is post-structural. The structure itself causes some symptoms and signs. Like there is a ascites, there is a retention with overflow, and the neurogenic bladder is present. And you will find that now the patient has so much retention of urine in the bladder that he cannot take a breath also. So this is a post-structural symptom of not able to take a regular breathing. So he needs now catheterization. So it is in this way we define going from the subtle presentation of the energy disturbance, from Hahnemann's derangement of the vital force concept to the actual organic changes. Patient can be in any of these stages in your clinical practice. It is very easy with this chart to define the stage of the patient. Although there are many other methods to define the stages. So in my presentation in oncology, I have tried to present many types of the cancer in terms of the miasmatic assessment. based on classification, gradation, histopathological report, and the metastasis. Okay, so we go to the next chapter. Acute prescribing. I finish this chapter and I go to the other one. Yeah. Yeah. Now we go to the next chapter, intercurrent prescribing. When the patient is not feeling better, I'm using many remedies. I want to give an intercurrent. Actually, the whole concept is not that because the patient doesn't feel better, he must be given a no-zone. This is not the understanding. First, you have to really define that you have given indicated remedies and there is a lack of reaction. Second thing very important is that because you feel that I must give tuberculin, therefore I am giving tuberculin. It's not a good idea. It must be having the very basis of remedic also. Lab similars must also be followed. The stage of the disease also must be followed. So what are the indications for the intercurrent prescribing? Poor, slow, inadequate, short-lasting, superficial response to the indicated constitutional remedy. Second, inadequate similarity. Because something is not available as characteristic because of poor susceptibility. So you are starved as a homeopath of the adequate data. In some cases, you stimulate the susceptibility, which starts manifesting the symptom. This is the idea. Then inadequate potency, inadequate repetition, genetic load versus fundamental miasm, dominant miasm active and the system is depressed, morbid constitution going for diathesis, energy reservoir poor, indolent system which needs more arousal, psychotic dominance, suppression, presence of maintaining causes where role of intercurrent prescribing is more. So you will find that every you see point has been described in detail by me as far as intercurrent prescription is concerned, because this is a very debatable question and on many international platforms this question was put up to me and there was an extreme need to answer them. So I have been answering their questions on intercurrent since a long time. I just collected them, gave a rational shape to the writing, and this is one of the chapters of understanding the role of intercurrent prescribing. Okay, then there is a chapter, Talking Hands. I have already presented through B. Jain a big volume on body language and homeopathy. There are some references of the talking hands in the book, but this one is a unique, different chapter which I wrote. And this is the conclusion. Hands have even more to say than the faces. They show, they depict the ideas and paint the beautiful landscapes. The hands are such incredibly gifted communicators that they deserve being watched. Hands are the tactile antennae one throws out to assay our material world and palpate its moves. So in a way, we see the faces, we see the eyes, we must also look at the hands. And different varieties of body language of hands have been presented, making a fist, pointer, then making a lot of movements, doing this one, doing this one. Yes, I understand. I will show my mother-in-law who I am. So this power play is very unique. Some patients sit like this. So all these concepts are related to the hands have been understood by me at the personality level. Actually, my job is not that this is the gesture and this is the interpretation. It is very superficial. Being a clinician, being a psychologist, And being my mind always searching, I try to understand how we could relate all these interpretations and gestures with psychology, with physiology, with anatomy, with human symbolic language, with personality. Thus, I tried to bind together something as a combining, organizing principle so that you know the inner personality. Okay? So you have powerful insight into our emotional states if you watch the hand gestures. Watching a hand movement is rather like peeping into the brain itself. It is said that hands are the richest articulation of space. So next to speech, next to listening, you have the hands. Okay? Then the conclusion of this chapter of talking hands. Hand gestures open up new windows to look at the totality of symptoms. It helps a homeopath in several ways, such as to facilitate the interview. You know, less questions and more information. It's a good interview. No? How will you achieve this? With your hands. Yes, tell me more. Oh, now you are raising the eyebrows and just say, oh, and your gesture is like, oh, tell me more, tell me more. So you facilitate the interview, you stimulate the patient to talk. The very basis of interview is let the patient talk. Of course, for loquacious patients, there is another technique to be followed. It must be remembered that one should not interpret isolated gesture of hands. Just like on isolated symptom, usually we do not give the remedy. Our concept is totality. In the same way, on isolated gesture and posture, you should not prescribe homeopathic remedy. It must have a meaning. It must be unique. It must be consistent. It must be a pattern and intense. Okay. Then now defense mechanism. These are what I already tell you. Yes. Then failures in homeopathic practice. Now this is a chapter which is very important. Important causes. I have just told you something. Defects at various levels. So defective data at the level of diseases. Maybe the disease not evolved. Maybe you have not understood. You have not understood the pathophysiology very well. You have not been able to label the disease, which kind of the disease the patient has. Then defects at the level of the patient, defective patient. Maybe the language you are not understanding, the speech is indistinct. He comes from a village and he doesn't know the language of the doctor, medical language. He's coming from Andhra Pradesh, for example, and he's giving me something in their language, not in native Hindi or Marathi or Hindi language, and I do not understand the Andhra language. So what I should do? I should rely on body language also. Then medicine. You are correct, but the medicine is only alcohol. Physician, because he is a human being, so he can do mistakes. He has problems of his own personality also. These all issues have been discussed at length, and the resolutions have been given. For example, if the physician has a problem of memory, what he should do to improve the memory? It is in this way this chapter of more than 30 pages has been written in this book. So case taking, many people do take the case, but write very small, which is not good. Documentation adequate is the very basis of understanding. Then tools of mathematical repertory, where you must be skilled. The best way to master mathematical repertory is to read daily at least few pages of mathematical over years and years. Then interference with the medicine coming from so many sources, medical errors. and mistakes in prescribing. So the causes are legal, causes are multiple, and being a homeopath, you must address them in a serious way. This is what I conclude about failures, the problems encountered in clinical practice, and the resolution that can be applied or discussed in this chapter. It is expected that the profession should ponder over the issues raised in this chapter and follow the instructions. And I have given last a very important statement. Remember, the walls of success are built over the stones of failure. Yeah, failures are there, but are you learning from the failures to expand your consciousness and to get more and more ascending graph of success? So this is what we have presented. Last monogram chapter, and then I will be with you for your questions. So monogram, the basic theme is to understand it is not only keynote symptoms, it is key theme also. In the key theme, you talk about individual, you talk about biological system, you talk about the pattern, you talk about the habit of the system to represent something unique in a consistent, repeated manner. So Dr. Tarkas used to say every remedy has multiple hearts and multiple nuclei. This is very important. In the living materia medica, you must know that a remedy can have flip-flop side, as described by homeopathic psychology book by Philip Bell. One of the very important contributions to the study of materia medica. Okay, so the utility of the monogram. I have just given an example of the carbon group. Let us study it. Devitalize. You know, vitality is very poor in carbon remedies because therefore they are called between living and dying. Or dynamic, lack of reaction, degenerating because it is a carbon. Venous, you know very well, all carbon remedies are indicated for venous constitution, piles, varicose veins, deep vein thrombosis, varicose ulcers, varicose eczema, stasis, scorbutic, characterized by bleeding gums, putrescent. So there is an inflammatory debris, including the slough and suppuration, for which carbon remedies are very well known, especially carbonium sulfuratum, carboanimalis, carbovegetabilis, ulcerative, cachectic with emaciation, cancerous, senile, flatulent, offensive, and burner. So these are the words. If you combine all these words together, you understand the system of carbon group in a far better way. Then according to the carbon remedy, some changes occur. Although most of the remedies do possess these unique characters. So what are the components of the monogram? Essence of the system following the concept of generalization. Essential threads that run through and through. Threads and discrete states which define the essence. Characters evolve after the deductive inference. Patterns, behavioral tendencies, often repeated phenomena, pathological genres, and miasmatic state. These are essential components of monogram. Each remedy can be presented very well to the monogram. Monogram is a beginning as well as it is the end, means pathology. Okay, so this is all about today's presentation, and I want to be with you now. I share the screen.
Thank you, sir. Anybody, if you have any questions, you can type your questions here in the Q&A box. Or you can type your questions in the chat box given in the bottom. Till then, sir, if you could talk a bit about your upcoming book on body language, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that Bijan published my book on body language long ago, and we finished the copies. Two times we published almost more than 4,000 copies, and they were sold out. Then I was busy with my international, you see, practice, and busy with my these Harmony in Totality books. Now we are coming out with a new book on body language. We have made some changes in the book. First, the clinical repertory of 570 new rubrics will be a part of the text now. So this separate chapter we have cancelled, and we have given the remedies under the text. So now you have three together: the text, the image, and the repertory rubric. So which will make your image imprinting much more easy. So you can enter into image, understand the value of the body language, understand the text which informs you everything about the gesture in terms of pathology, in terms of personality, in terms of psychology, physiology. And then you have the access to the clinical repertory and thus through the rubrics. This is a major change we have made. And I think we will be definitely coming out with this book during 2025. It's a
Very
huge
soon, sir, we'll be out
work.
with it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Sir, we have one question. If you could explain the defense mechanism that you talked about earlier
Okay.
in this PPT.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You see, I am late at, you see, bus depot. My bus timing is 6 p.m. in the evening, but I was late at the bus at 6:15 p.m. So I have a thought in my mind. The bus has just disappeared in time and I am late. This is a God's grace on me because probably this bus could land into trouble by the accident. So what I do not take the responsibilities that I am lazy, I am guilty. I dilute the guilt through using a defense mechanism. So my weakness, I try to hide. This is defense mechanism. You know, the boss is troubling, torturing to the employee, and the employee is very angry at home over the wife. This is projection because he cannot project at the level of the boss. So there are so many aspects of understanding the defense mechanism. The problem is that defense mechanism is also very useful, but you have to face the life of realism. If you are late always, then you have to see that by using defense mechanism, my laziness will not disappear. So once the defense mechanism you start using and they become a part of your personality, you are glued to it. Then they become very important as rubrics. And we have developed the repertory of defense mechanisms, which is a very unique repertory. There is a very big presentation of mine for European people on defense mechanism. So if Homeopathy 360 wants, we can present this very unique presentation. It is a very big presentation. It requires at least, you will find each 2 hours, 8 webinar series, 8 hours. Then you will get a real stuff of this very unique presentation. Yeah.
So I'm sure everybody would like to learn this because it really helps in prescribing for the patient. At one time or the other, all of us project somewhere. So,
Yeah.
B, when you were describing this example that, somebody comes home and yells at the wife because he cannot overpower the boss. So, this is a similar picture to lycopodium, I guess. Lycopodium के बारे में it is said कि
Yeah.
वो जिसको कंट्रोल कर सकता है उसको करता है और जिसके सामने दब सकता है उसे दब जाता है. तो
With subordinates, is different, and with seniors, is different.
exactly, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, another question is on intercurrent prescription. If you can explain that.
Yeah. Explanation will require more than an hour because each component has to be described. But I will tell you, there is a definitive place of intercurrents in very strong pathological cases today. This unique concept of intercurrent prescribing has originated from Hanuman himself, who understood that in spite of large similars following remedies, there is a poor response. So the concept of miasm came up. So the concept of the miasm, understanding the morbid constitutions, and based on this morbidity, there is a lack of response on the part of the system. There is a rubric lack of reaction in the generalities, which contain more than 50 remedies. All these remedies could be used as intercurrent also, not only nosos and sarcodes. I had a very interesting case of uh, rheumatoid arthritis, and I was stuck in a case. Patient improved with ferrum metallicum, and I decided to give an intercurrent, and I found that one of the best intercurrents in this remedy is plumbum metallicum, not only a nozzle. And with this intercurrent, there was a very good response to ferrum metallicum. So these are many, many themes in the clinical practice. So let us take a very simple example. Patient is consuming alcohol and he has really become alcoholic. You are giving a remedy, but there is a poor response because alcohol causes an obstacle in the recovery process. It retards the action of a homeopathic remedy. So now what are you going to do about this? Should you give potentized alcohol to this patient? Yes. So it becomes an intercurrent. Should I give liver as a human liver as a sarcode to the patient? Yes. Because he has ascites, he has cirrhosis of liver alcoholic, so you can give. So these two become intercurrent today as far as your prescription, maybe constitutional, maybe clinical, you are giving chelidonium, mother tincture, you are giving caldus marinus, okay, his constitutional remedy is naxamica, okay, you are giving. But you find that his response is poor. You find that, yes, in spite of my very good, you see, similarity being achieved, still there is a poor response. Then you can think of liver as a sarcode. You can think of alcohol as a intercurrent remedy in such cases. Rather, I think that this is not, you see, giving many remedies at a time to the patient. Because today's patient has many causative factors which have changed as far as the evolution of the human mankind is concerned. The causes at the level of the recovery have changed a lot due to defective lifestyle, due to pollution. Today's research over diabetes is pollution is one of the causes of diabetes today. So what are you going to do as a homeopath towards this pollution? Do you know we have a very wonderful remedy, acid sulfurous acid, not sulfuric acid. I have used this remedy in some selected cases when I found that pollution is a major cause. 3 cases from Delhi, I treated from Pune, where I prescribed sulfurous acid as an intercurrent remedy with good results. Our Pune is also now, you see, Kuprasiddha, notorious for pollution, like Delhi. But Delhi is number one, you see. Yeah. So there are so many aspects of the intercurrent prescription. I will tell you a very interesting case of atopic dermatitis in a child where mother had diabetes and she was on during gestational period insulin. I tried a host of remedies with partial response. Then I decided to give insulinum in homeopathic potentized form, and with a single dose of 200, the dermatitis almost responded. I have to give some other remedies, but the real improvement occur only after insulinum. So at the level of what the system came out with during pregnancy. So we use mental state of a woman during pregnancy. We must also use physical state also. So it is in this way you will find intercurrent remedy could be used at many levels, but it must be logic. It must contain logic. It must be time dimensional study also. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. If you have any other questions, you can please type in the question answer box or in the chat box. Uh,
Even I usually hold question and answer series, just your questions and my answers. So we can even go with this very unique pattern of learning in future also. Yeah.
so definitely we can plan some Q&A sessions with you, because I think these things are really, really important that we don't actually pay heed to when we study homeopathy that ways. So we don't understand that homeopathy is much deeper than what we actually study in the books.
Yeah.
Uh, Practice is different from theory.
Practice is different. Yeah, practice is different and practice is challenging. Homeopathic
Absolutely.
is challenging. It is intellectually challenging. Yeah.
So we have another question. This is regarding what you have just explained about insulin. This person wants to know that in cases of PCOD, can ovirinum be used in large doses? Because this is logical that if we provide estrogen, PCOD might resolve, and insulin also has a role to play there. So how do we take these cases?
Surely. I use two sarcodes, overinum and proper ovary. These two remedies often, and the third remedy I use in PCOD is folliculinum. So I use three sarcodes in the treatment of PCOD. If the patient has family history of hypothyroidism, or if the patient has hypothyroidism in addition to PCOD, then my fourth sarcode is thyroidinum. Yeah. And they are very useful. You have to just see which sarcode has to be given at what level. Usually, I give it not during menstrual cycle. My method is to give folliculinum usually before ovulation. This is my method to give folliculinum. Overinum and ovary, I give, you see, uh, usually at a gap of 1 week as a single dose in 30 potency or 200 potency. This is my method. And your constitutional remedy with the diet and all the yoga and the weight reduction and all other auxiliary methods. Yes.
Sir, in that case, what is the use of pituitarinum as a sarcode? I mean, this is unrelated to PCOD. I am just asking. This is my question. I just happen to, uh, as a sarcode. Then how do we use pituitarinum? This is
Uh, in the pituitary, we have two remedies, pituitarinum anteriosa and posteriosa. Better results are with anteriosa. The posterior part is also used and anterior part of the pituitary used. And you will get obesity and absence of menses are characteristics of, you see, pituitarinum. And therefore, these are very big issues with PCOD patients. So pituitary can be used as a sarcode in some cases, surely. Yeah.
So there's one request. We can conduct a webinar completely on defense mechanisms.
I already told you, but it is difficult. It is too deep, and you have to be very careful. If you study with me deeply and you invest your time, I am ready to invest my time. This subject is not that you hear, listen, and forget. It is a subject, very unique subject, must have integrated with homeopathy. And one of the outstanding works in defense mechanism being done in psychology. Now the time has come to integrate these concepts with a very challenging science and art of homeopathy. So I'm ready. So we can begin. I'm busy up to February end or March. So we can begin afterwards. Yeah, after
Sure, sir.
March, it's difficult. From April onwards, you decide. I'm ready to give my time, and we can circulate this information. And I'm very happy. I have already given defense mechanism lectures in Israel and in Europe. But for the Indians, this will be the first time. Yeah.
We'll plan it, sir, surely. Sir, another question is on liver sarcode. This is from Dr. Neetu Arora. How can we procure liver sarcode and what company is manufacturing it?
Yes. They are available with Helios Pharmacy from London, and they give you at home also, very expensive. Another way you can get it from Ukraine, from the Odessa pharmacy, which is a very big pharmacy, very reliable pharmacy. Because of the war, I'm not going over there. So these two pharmacies, you can definitely get liver and many other products. Just go on the Helios Homeo Pharmacy, London, and whatever remedies you want, you just type them. And you will find a huge list of more than 3,000, 4,000 remedies. And you can just bring expensive, but no way out. Because in Europe, every remedy has to be registered. And the minimum expense for each remedy registration is $1,500. It is very difficult. So the expenses are there, but you can take the money from the patient. And this is something very unique, no? I just brought a muscle. One of my patients from London brought it for me. Yeah. So muscle I am using in multiple sclerosis and musculopathies. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Sir, one question is on mixed miasmatic state because you were talking about evolution of diseases and more complex diseases coming up. So there's this question is if you can explain how to deal with mixed miasmatic states.
See, there are two basic miasms, fundamental miasm, which is based on family history. The second one is a dominant miasm or acquired miasm. There is a congenital miasm. So there are many types of miasmatic states. Everyone is born with all the miasms. In a way, everyone is born with all the emotions. Everyone is also born with all the defense mechanisms. The degree and level of use of them is different. Now here, in the mixed miasm, you have to exactly define in which way they are mixed. In the mixed miasm, combined miasm, you have to see which evaluation marks you want to give, whether it is psychosyphilitic, whether it is psychotubercular, whether it is tuberculosyphilis. And this is very important. For example, in one patient, it could be psychotic for 3 marks and syphilis for 1 mark. According to the type of the cancer also, you can define the combined miasm also. Take, for example, a patient of leukemia. He is in acute leukemic state. It is tubercular and syphilitic. The same patient goes into now chronic leukemia. Chances of survival are much more. So remission can be for many, many years also. It means from the tubercular and syphilitic miasmatic dominance, he has gone to psychotic phase. So it is in this way the evolution occurs. It can occur from SORA, then psychosis to tuberculum, then syphilis, or it can jump also. Some patients can jump from SORA to syphilis directly also. This is very interesting. So several permutations and combinations of the miasmatic energies get developed in the system, and they start just putting a load over the immune status. So we have to define all these aspects together by defining the pathology, by defining the evolution also. What was the state when you began treatment? What is the state of the pathology and susceptibility? How you appreciate this during treatment or when the patient has consulted you? So all these ideas are very important. And therefore, the concept of the objective analysis of the data through 20 points really is very, very useful to define the miasm. Yeah.
Sir, it is important then we carefully document the case and analyze the
Very good.
entire history of the patient, because oftentimes in OPD we don't have that much time. Every time the patient comes, we like prescribe on totality and let him go.
You
This
see,
happens.
homeopathic practice is a very refined intellectual exercise. It is a consultation practice more. It is not a GP practice. I tell you, after my 40 years of practice, don't make homeopathy as a general practitioner. It is a very evolved, refined, logical, artistic, and scientific therapy. So you need to take a good case, the case, you document it, then process it. You know, many homeopaths take 2 hours case, documentation poor. And data processing, they don't wait, they just want to give the remedy because they think this is lycopodium. And when you repertorize the case, there is no lycopodium in the repertories. This is wrong, you see. You must give time to the remedy selection. Think over it, make a comparison of the study, and then prescribe a remedy. Your patient is giving you money. His life is dependent on. If you give correct remedy, there is a smile. No? I just did an acute case of impetigo in a child at is 5. And a referring homeopath gave 5 or 6 remedies with no response. Then I just asked questions and I found that this is a very unique case of carbonium sulfur atom, which I never use in impetigo. But my general indications of carbon group and everything match so well. I told her to give 200 potency 3 times a day for 3 days. She just gave 1 dose in the clinic itself. After 6 hours, impetigo almost 90% disappeared. More than 7 days, patient was with very strong impetigo. And within 5 or 6 hours, almost disappeared. So sometimes our remedy does wonder. Yeah.
We just have to be out of that bias that, this is the remedy.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
any other questions? You can please type in question box. Um, Sir, another very short. We've taken a lot of time from sir. It's going to be 10. Sir, about cancer miasm, because Hahnemann described 3 miasms, and we've come down with the fourth one, which I think is related to evolution of diseases that you've talked about. So, just a brief on cancer miasm.
You see. 3 miasms Hahnemann, and then Allen's contribution of the 4th miasm of tubercular. Why there was a need for Allen to put forward the tuberculin of miasm? Because it is a very unique, separate, autonomous entity of the miasm, which is represented in clinical practice. Although this tubercular miasm is a combination of SORA and syphilis together, you get cases of tubercular miasm just like you get cases of SORA, psychosis, and syphilis. So I give value to Allen's very extraordinary intellect projection of this tubercular miasm. This is point number one. Point number second, I do not like the idea to make the issue of a disease being related to the miasm. I understand cancer not as a miasm, as a clinical entity. So why you call it as a cancer miasm? Because there are so many millions of diseases. So you can just tell me patient has colitis miasm because he has colitis. Can you say this? Patient has sclerotic miasm because he's suffering from multiple sclerosis. With four miasmatic divisions, cleavage, it is possible to categorize every disease under the sun in a very logical way. This is a very good exercise. I have presented miasmatic assessment of hypertension, anxiety neurosis, cirrhosis of liver, and many other diseases in my clinical practice, in my books also. So no need of fifth miasm. So cancer miasm is not something which should be a part of the miasmatic state. Although cancer has spread, so what has not spread? Many diseases are widespread and many diseases are serious than cancer. Do you know this? There are hundreds types of cancer. Not all cancers are causing death. There is a cancer coming from the leukemia B cell, which can develop in the body and doesn't at all cause any division of the cells. It remain until death in the same dormant way. So do you want to call it as a miasm? Disease miasm? No. Miasmatic concept is much more synthetic. It goes in understanding the organismic wholeness. It goes in understanding the biosocial character of a human organism. So it must not be based only on disease. It must be beyond disease to understand the system language. And this is the whole concept of miasm. No? Why miasmatic concept is essential in homeopathy? Because you go beyond the disease. You go beyond symptoms. You go beyond pathology, beyond investigation. So you understand the system with mind and the body as a coordinate system. So miasm should not be limited to the concept of the disease. And this is the reason why I wrote a big chapter in my third volume on miasmatic assessment of cancer. It is a chapter of more than 15-20 pages, which are. This is the reason behind it, because this question is always put up to me in many national and international platforms. So I have to answer this question. So answer to this question is that let us understand miasm in a more deeper, more constitutional, more diathesis, more broad way of synthesis. This is the answer to this question. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I hope there are no more questions because we've indeed taken a lot of time from sir. Also, it's been 2 hours. Any other questions? Please type. We'll wait for 5 minutes. Till then, very briefly, I'm going to tell you what is Homeopathy 360 all about for all those who've joined us for the first time. So, Homeopathy 360 is one very nice venture for undergraduate students and postgraduate students of homeopathy. You can log on to www.homeopathy360.com and you will find all sorts of articles, all sorts of blogs, and anything that is related to homeopathy you can find there. You can contribute your articles, your blogs, and we have webinar series which is going on with different teachers from across the world. Like sir, we'll be scheduling another webinar soon with sir per availability of time. And so, any more questions? Sir, I think we can wind up here.
Okay. Yes. All the best
Thank
wishes
you so
to
much, sir.
everyone. Okay. Yes.
Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
sir.